Okay, so today we're doing chapter 6, lesson 4. We're dealing with two-step equations. Very first thing we're going to go over is what is a two-step equation. Now, so far, we've been doing baby steps, and you guys have been seeing something like this, where you just have a variable being multiplied by a number, and then equals a number, and then all you have to do is undo that and solve for x, right? Yeah, we're not doing that anymore. Now, you're going to have something like this, where you have two-step equations. You guys are going to have to move more than one number across the equal sign. So the example I gave you here is 2x plus 3. Okay? Same idea as before. It's still algebra. So the way we solve algebra is by doing what? Nope. There we go. We isolate the variable. That's what we need to do in order to solve an algebraic equation, is isolate the variable. So remember, the variable here is what, ladies and gentlemen? So my goal is to get x on this side by itself. That's all I need to do. Everything else needs to get out of the way. So now we have the introduction of this plus 3. I need that plus 3 gone. How do I get rid of that plus 3? I'm not dividing it. I'm going to subtract 3. And remember, this is a mirror, so if I do it from one side, I got to do it too. So when I subtract 3, this will cancel out. And this is what you guys need to get used to, rewriting the equations. So now that this is gone, I just have 2x left on this side, equals, and then what is 7 minus 3? Ladies and gentlemen? 4. Now I have a new equation. 2x equals 4. And again, our goal is to get x by itself. So what is happening to x, ladies and gentlemen? It's being... So how do I undo that, everybody? By? So I divide this side by 2 to get rid of that, and I have to do it on the other side. X will equal whatever 4 divided by 2 is, and that is, ladies and gentlemen, and that's my answer. And here, oh, nope. And here is all of my work. So remember, on the homework and the test, you need to show every step that you took in order to solve it. If you don't, you do not get credit. Yes?
Can you do just like do 7 minus 3 minus 2?
No. That doesn't work.
I get the same answer.
That on this example, that works. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. We didn't subtract 2, we divided 2. So that's not how that works. Anybody have questions on how this was done? Everybody understood it? Okay, we're going to go pull some other examples now. And you guys are going to help me out with this. Our first example is 2x plus 3 equals 9. 2x plus 3 equals 9. So, before we begin, ladies and gentlemen, what's the goal of algebra? Everybody?
Isolate the variable.
No, that's how we solve it. What's the point of algebra? To
Solve variable.
solve for the variable. How do I solve for the variable now, everybody? Isolate the variable, which means, who can put that in kid speak? What does that mean? Get the variable by itself on one side of the equal sign. So I want x all by itself. Right now, x is being multiplied and being added to. Can't have that, so I need to get rid of it. Okay? Boys, pretend like it's a girl you want to talk to, but their friends are all there. You need to get rid of their friends. You don't want to talk with their friends, right? So, get their friends out of there. X is by itself. There you go. You solved algebra. Good job. None of you guys are brave enough to do that, so irrelevant. All right, so continuing on. Okay, ladies. It's like talking to somebody you got a problem with and their click is there. Get rid of their click. Yeah, that's more relatable, yes? Okay. Olivia's like, yeah, that one makes sense. Okay. So, what is happening here is 2x plus 3. I need x by itself. I'm going to pick on someone random. What's my very first step? What do I need to do first, Mateo? Okay, so what's my very first? Which one am I moving first? Which friend am I getting rid of first? Yeah, I need to get rid of that plus 3. See, this 2 is its bestie because it's like right next to it. Plus 3 is just that other friend that kind of just moved in here later and, you know. So I need to get rid of that plus 3. How do I get rid of that plus 3? Ladies and gentlemen? Subtract it. I'm going to get rid of this here. I'm going to get rid of that on that side. Now I'm going to draw a line to rewrite the new equation. So from left to right, what is my new equation, ladies and gentlemen? 2x. Hang on. So I got 2x equals 6. Because remember, 9 minus 3 is 6. Anybody not understand what we just did there? No, you don't understand? Everybody's good? Thumbs up? Show me if you understand. Yes. Yeah, go sit over there. Who's being the parrot? We don't need that. So, I got 2x equals 6. Okay, now I gotta get rid of the bestie. How do I get rid of the bestie? So I'm gonna divide this side by 2. That cancels out. Divide this side by 2. My new equation is x equals whatever 6 divided by 2 is, and that will be 3. And that's it. And then you know how to check your answer? Yeah. Plug it in. Here. Plug it in. What's 2 times 3? Plus 3 would equal? And that makes a statement true. 9 equals 9. Therefore, it's true. So take whatever x equals, plug it into the original, see if it works, and if it does work, cool, you're good. If it doesn't work, go back and figure out what you did wrong. Okay. Now we're going to look at the homework. You guys are going to pick. Remember, you're doing only evens. So you guys are going to pick an example from the homework by looking at it up here, because no devices should be open. Look at them, all of them. Go, okay, that one's one you need to do as an example, because we're not going to be able to do that one. So look at it, and I'm moving up. Right now, some of us are identifying 4. Okay, hoping good to move up. Am I good to move up?
Wait. Okay, yeah, you're good.
Okay, this is 10 through 16. You see another one that replaces 4. Now we're looking at 10. 12? Okay. 12 seems to be the winner here. And the next group, this should be, yeah, this is the last of it. Why are we yelling? Okay, so which one did we agree on, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, so we are doing 22 over all of the other ones? Okay, 22 is the focus. Okay, so this is good. This is a good example because it's going to deal with fractions and with negatives. So I've got negative 4/5, and this is f, plus 1 equals negative 13. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you should all know my first step is to do what? I said, ladies and gentlemen. That's not my first step. Nope. Oh, you guys are killing me. What am I moving first? Okay. This one, okay, let's use correct terminology. This is known as a what, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, no. This number right here in front of the variable, there's your hint, is known as the coefficient. So we don't deal with the coefficient until that's the only thing left. We deal with the other numbers that are called. That's not 1. What is? Shh, okay, stop. Give you an example. This is a coefficient, begins with a C. This also begins with a C. Constant. You need to get rid of the constants first. So that plus 1 needs to go. Alex W., how can I get rid of that plus 1? Thanks, Alex W. How do I get rid of the 1? The plus 1. I need the plus 1 gone. There we go. Okay. Now, this is where I probably lose a lot of you guys. That will go away. What's my new equation? From left to right? Not plus. Negative 4/5 F. Okay, this is where, okay, freeze, no talking. This is where you guys all lose your minds and start getting confused. Just like last period, they did the same thing. I have negative 13 minus 1. Now I'm going to give you guys a hint because some of you guys already got in your head and were like, oh, it's positive. It's not. Two negatives do not cancel out when it comes to adding and subtracting. That only happens with what, ladies and gentlemen? And, okay, so the two positives, that whole rule. So a negative times a positive would equal a negative. A negative time or divided by a positive would equal a negative. That is multiplication division. Negative times negative equals positive. Negative divided by negative equals positive. These are only multiplication and division, not addition and subtraction. So again, I'm at negative 13. I'm taking 1 away from it. Where am I at, ladies and gentlemen? No. Negative 14. Again, if you are at negative 12, you added 1. That is not correct. Number line. Here is 0. Here is negative 13. You're taking away 1. If you move over to the right, you just added 1. And that's not what you want to do. You need to move over to the left, which gives you negative 14. So negative 13 minus 1 is negative 14. If you need to do the number line, you need to do the number line. So my new equation is negative 4/5 F equals 14. This is where I need you guys to be silent because, again, this is live. What is my next step? Ozias. Not yet. I know where you're going with that, but what's my first step? You're jumping ahead. So what's happening to the variable? Okay, remember, if a number's in front of it, what does that mean? If a number's right in front of a variable with no visible operations, what does that mean? The variable is being what? So, variables being multiplied by what? Okay, there we go. So it's being multiplied by negative 4/5. So, Ozias, how do I undo that? How do I undo multiplication? So I'm going to divide it by? There we go. So this side's going to be divided by negative 4/5, and I know it looks a little weird, but that's what that means. That will cancel out. That'll all go away. F will be by itself now. But I have to divide this side by negative 4/5 as well. And instead of me going and writing it like this, I'm going to do one thing. There's the trick. Because remember, if I have to divide this by negative 4/5, the division will become what? If I have to divide this number by negative 4/5, the division becomes what, ladies and gentlemen? And then the negative 4/5 becomes?
Negative 5/4.
So instead of me writing this out and then have to do the keep, switch, flip thing and waste paper, why don't I immediately, when I bring it over here, change it to multiplication and flip it on the way over? And that's negative 4/5. And now, like Ozias said, I got to put that thing over 1. So it's just a shortcut. If it's easier for you to write it out and do the keep, switch, flip, because that's what reminds you, go for it. But honestly, when you divide by a fraction with the algebraic equations, just immediately turn it into multiplication and flip it. Don't waste your time and your lead that you keep breaking. Okay? So now I've got F equals negative 14 over 1 times negative 5/4. Now, our answer right off the bat is going to be what, ladies and gentlemen? Positive, because I've got a negative times a negative. So, right off the bat, F is going to equal a positive. which is a first in academics. No one got the joke. So, 14 over 1 times 5 over 4. I got rid of the negatives because we already know it's going to be positive. What's my very first step? What do I do first? What do I do first? I'm not calling the same people. Other people. Let's get in this. Nope. Yes, you have. Quit arguing with the mic. Mateo, what do I do first?
Check for cross simplification.
Do any of them have any common factors?
Yeah, 14 and 4.
What do they both have in common?
7.
14 and 4 both have what in common? 8 can go into 4? 2. What happens if I divide 4 by 2, ladies and gentlemen? Becomes 2. What about 14 divided by 2? And I can't cross simplify anymore because at 5 and the 1, one of them's a 1. So I'm going to multiply straight across. What's 7 times 5, everybody? Can we stop yelling random numbers? 7 times 5 is? Over 1 times 2 is? This is known as a? So I cannot leave that as my answer. F cannot equal 35 over 2. So I have to do what, ladies and gentlemen? Okay. Simplify by doing what? Dividing. Dividing what by what? Top number is numerator. We divide it by the denominator. So, do not plug this into a calculator. Do not plug it into a calculator. The reason why is it started as a fraction. Your answer needs to be in the form of a fraction. So, you're going to have to do division the long way. And you should be able to do these. It's not hard. How many times can 2 go into 3? Once. That'll equal what, ladies and gentlemen? 2. I'm going to subtract 2 from 3, and that gives me 1. Not hard. Bring down the 5. 2 can go into 15. How many times? 7 times. That will be 14. When I subtract, I'll have 1 left over. Your answer is 17 and 1/2. And remember, it's a positive 17 and 1/2 because up here it was negative times the negative. So we keep it positive. F equals 17 and 1/2. And of course, in this one, you definitely don't want to plug that in to check your answer. If you want to, have fun doing that to see if that's what that equals. But in this case, let's just check the answer page. That was number what?
22.
Hey, look at that. And they did the cardinal sin that you shouldn't. They made it a decimal. If it's fractions, it should be a fraction answer. If it's decimals, it should be a decimal answer. Nowhere in this chapter will you have a combination of fractions and decimals. If you do, just turn the decimal to a fraction to make it easier. Or other way around. I wouldn't mark you wrong, but again, the directions are important. So if the question said, so if I'm making the test, which I am, I'm going to put, solve this, make sure your answer is a fraction. So if you don't follow the directions and you give me this, you give me this after the directions were make the answer a fraction, you do get it marked wrong. This is why I said do not use your calculator. Because if you had used your calculator here to solve 35 divided by 2, you would have got this. It would have been 17.5.
And you put 17 and a half.
You could have done that, or you could have just done this to show your work, because that's the most important thing, right? On your homework, if you're not showing your work, am I stamping it or signing it? Absolutely not. So make sure that you show all of your work. Alex, question.
Still gotta write this down on our board.
Well, it's in your notes. Just copy it down later. Oh my God, I gotta do stuff. Okay. All right, that's it for lesson 4. We're gonna move on to lesson 5. Lesson 5, you guys need a new page for notes. We're doing homework examples as well. And lesson 5 is basically the same thing, only they introduce something new. Why the heck? There we go. Okay, so we're doing lesson 5, and it's more two-step equations. But this time, they're going to introduce something different. And I told last class period that this is almost three-step equations at this point. Because here is your example. You've got 2 on the outside. W plus, I believe it was 636 equals 114. So this is almost a three-step equation. Because remember, this is an example of what, ladies and gentlemen? The 2 on the outside and W plus 36 on the inside is an example of what? Distributive property. So, with that being said, what is my first step with this equation? Okay. So, Alex K., if you guys didn't hear because you're talking, said we need to multiply the 2 by all the terms on the inside of the parentheses, which is fine, but what is that known as, ladies and gentlemen? Say that again. It's distributing. And it would be distribution, not distributation. Okay, so I distribute the 2 to both terms on the inside. That's my very first step when you see a distributive property type question like this. You got to distribute or distributate the number on the outside on the inside. So what is 2 times W, everybody? Okay, and then 2 times 36, stop. Mental math. 36 is made up of what 2 numbers, ladies and gentlemen? 30 and 6. What is double 30? Okay, you guys, the talking needs to stop. What's double 30? What's double 6? What's 60 plus 12? So double 36 is 72. Now, we do not immediately write plus here. We distribute and then we decide. So since our answer is 72, it's positive 72. I'm going to get on my soapbox for a second here. Pretend this 2 on the outside was negative instead. When I distribute negative 2 times W, it's negative 2W. And when I distribute negative 2 with 36, it becomes negative 72. And that's when this would become minus 72 instead. You do not carry over this operation. The operation down here determines on the value of the second term. If it's positive, you add. If it's negative, you subtract. Are we clear on this? So, because this wasn't a negative on the outside and it was a positive, it becomes positive 72 instead. That will now equal 114. That was step number 1. You distribute it. That's step number 1. Guess what? This is still a 2-step equation, which is why I call it a 3-step equation instead. Because you're going to get rid of the constant, and then you're going to divide the variable, and you're going to solve. So, you guys, rapid fire. What's my first step, ladies and gentlemen? Subtract the 72 from both sides. That will cancel that out. My new equation is 2W equals, and whatever 114 minus 72 is. Let's do this together. 4 minus 2?
2.
And I can't do 1 minus 7, so I'm going to borrow, but that's going to become 11 anyway. What's 11 minus 7, everybody?
4.
So, 2W equals 42. Ladies and gentlemen, my next step is to... by... just tell me the operation. What am I doing? Rapid fire. Dividing it by being multiplied by 2, so I'm going to divide by 2. And I'm going to divide by 2 over here as well. Stop. W will now equal whatever 42 divided by 2 is, which is, everybody? And we solved the problem. That's it. So remember, you have to distribute, and then it'll become a 2-step equation. This is why I jokingly call it a 3-step equation, because technically you did 3 steps. Number 1, number 2, number 3. Any questions on this? Okay, we're starting a new page, and you guys are going to pick an example from the homework. Remember, you are in charge of the evens only, So we're going to look at the first 4. You guys should be up here. Eyes up here. I know I'm pretty, but you guys can't keep staring at me. Stare at the TV, please. Okay, it's creepy. Shh. Okay, next 4. Remember, you guys are deciding on one. Which one you guys are like, we don't want to do that. You're going to have to help us do it. These are the last 4. Shh. Okay, I've not asked. Okay. Which one are we doing? Okay, all in favor of 16, raise your hand. All against? Okay, well, 16 won. Okay, 16 is the example we're doing. This should still be in your notes, so I will walk you guys through how to do this. 6/11 is on the outside, x plus 5 on the inside, and that will all equal 6. What's my very first step? I need to distribute this 6/11 to each one. Now, the first one's easy. If I multiply 6/11 by x, I'm going to not give you guys any more warnings. 6/11 times x gives me, everybody? Now, this is where this one gets a little bit more difficult. I have 6/11 times 5. I can only do that if both numbers are. So, side note over here, 6/11 times 5/1. I can check for cross simplification, which there won't be any because 5 and 11 have no common factors, and 6 and 1, 1's already 1. So, I'm going to multiply straight across. What is 6 times 5, everybody? And what's 11 times 1? Now, this is an improper fraction, but I'm going to keep it that way just in case, because eventually I have to move it over to the other side, right? So let's just keep it like this. So, and this was what? Is this positive or negative? So it is plus 30/11. And that will equal 6. So I have distributed. Distributing has happened. Now I need to get rid of the constant. The constant is 30/11, which is probably going to be a pain now because I have to subtract it. And I'm going to subtract this as well. And this is where it becomes fun. So I'm going to have 6/11 x equaling 6 minus 30/11. And I cannot simplify that 30/11 until we do one thing. I'm not isolating the variable yet. Why can't I do 6 minus 30/11? Why can't I do 6 minus 30/11? Say it again. Okay, but I still can do it. I just haven't done the appropriate steps yet, right?
Yeah.
How do you subtract fractions? What are the rules about subtracting fractions? Okay, both numbers have to be a fraction. So let me put this over 1. 6/1. Can I subtract now? What's the second rule about subtracting fractions? What's the bottom number called? Denominators have to be the same. They have to have common denominators. This is 6/1 minus 30/11. I can't make that 30/11 smaller right now. I don't want to. I'm going to change it 6/1. What can I multiply both numbers by to get a common denominator? I'm going to multiply them both by 11. If I multiply 1 by 11, it becomes... If I multiply 6 by 11, it becomes...
66.
So, now I have 66 minus 30, basically. Because my answer is going to be over 11. But now it's just 66 minus 30. What is 66 minus 30, everybody? Everybody? 36. So, my new equation now is 6/11 x equals 36/11. 6/11 x, which I had before, equaled 66 minus 30/11. We did that by changing it to 66/11. Now this is what we have right now. That's our equation as of right now. Anybody not understand how we got here? We're all good? Leo? We good? You need me to walk through it? Okay. Everybody, you guys, the side conversations need to stop because this is still recording and it's picking everything up. Okay. Walking it back from the beginning. This was our equation to start with. We distributed the 6/11 to make this 6/11 x, and then 6/11 times 5, when we did it, and I erased the work, unfortunately, became 30/11 because it was 6/11 times 5/1 became 30/11. Okay? So, now I have 6x plus 30/11 equals 6. I need to get rid of that 30/11. I subtracted the 30/11, that cancels out, but I have to subtract the 30/11 from 6. This is where I get 6x by itself on this side equals 6 minus 30/11. I had to put 6/1, so that became 6/1. And I can't subtract a fraction unless they have common denominators, so I had to multiply this by 11. This is why it became 66/11 instead. Because remember, I can't do 6/1 minus 30/11. They have to have the same denominator for me to subtract or add. So, multiplied it by 11. That gave me 66/11. Originally, it was 6/1, so I added the 6 and the 1 because I multiplied it by 11. When I subtract, the denominator stays the same. We don't subtract denominators. We just subtract numerators. 66 minus 30 gave me 36. So, as of right now, I have 6/11x equals 36/11. We're all caught up, yes? Okay, I'm going to rewrite the equation here bigger so we can do this. So 6/11x equals, what did we say? 36/11. Okay, now I have to get x by itself, so I'm going to divide by 6/11 to get that canceled out. And remember, I'm not going to bring it and divide it. I'm going to, on the way over there, keep switch flip. I kept the first one. Now I'm going to switch division to become multiplication. And instead of 6/11, it will become 11/6. So x will now be whatever 36/11 times 11/6 is. Guess what? It's time for... No. Cross simplification. Both of these are 11. Remember, when you have the same number across from each other, they just both become. So cancel those out. And then 6 and 36 do have common factors. What number can go into both?
6.
Guys, pay attention to the cues. I pointed. I didn't say ladies and gentlemen. So 6 divided by 6 will become. And 36 divided by 6, ladies and gentlemen, will become. So I've got 6/1 times 1/1. That's just going to be 6. Because remember, 6/1 times 1/1 will still be 6/1. 6/1 is just 6. So x equals 6. This was number what? 16. Check the answer for 16, and it is 6. Brandon, Brian, and Jaden, we need to not talk to each other. You're not in the same group. Focus. Any questions on the lessons? We're all good? Okay. I'm going to stop the recording here.